African countries have continued to register impressive economic growth over the years, but with this progress, there are some persistent issues that still hamper inclusive growth.
The impressive levels of growth of African countries, both current and expected, and we know that 19 out of 30, the 30 fastest growing economies, as it's projected in the next 5 years, will be African. But we know that there are still persistent levels of poverty as stated. Food insecurity and inequality is a problem that we will be dealing with, tasked to explore and find solutions to.
Kenya has emerged as a shining example in the continent due to transformative measures that have been employed to make the country an economic powerhouse.
Kenya has seen significant economic growth. Kenya is known as the innovation nation, having developed products that have advanced financial and social inclusion using mobile and information technology. Kenya boasts a strong human resource capacity with one of the highest literacy levels in sub-Saharan Africa, and the country is a regional hub for education. Kenya's youth have been empowered through the numerous programs such as the Uwezo Fund to increase their access to finance and grow entrepreneurship, as well as recently the relaunched National Youth Service that enlisted over 2,000 young people.
However, there are still a number of challenges that need to be addressed.
There are quite existing challenges in Africa, particularly on infrastructure. As you know, current estimates of infrastructure deficit in Africa is about 93 billion US dollars, of which 45, the current investment that countries are making is about 45 billion US dollars. There are indications that if we use more resources more efficiently, we can fill another 17 billion US dollars. Therefore, leaves a gap of about 31 billion. In Kenya alone, our infrastructure deficit is about 2 billion per annum.
To counter some of these setbacks, governments are working together in order to spur inclusive growth.
My government is paving the way in opening up regional trade across the continent, understanding that nations are intrinsically co-joined in their regions and have a responsibility to that relationship. Recently, we in Kenya flagged off the joint South Sudan-Ethiopian transport corridor, which will spur regional and economic inclusion for the people of this region.
Experts say that tapping into commercial gains from natural resources and enhancing taxation regimes will go a long way to ensure that economic growth has a trickle-down effect.
The opportunity also with the significant natural resources that is available, 22 countries in Africa are resource rich, and utilizing these resources better will definitely help in boosting inclusive growth. We need to have our taxes to be more progressive. For example, redesigning our VAT laws to limit exemptions that benefit usually the rich, while ensuring that items consumed by the poor are exempt.
And collaboration between governments and private sector players, strengthening regional economic blocs, and investing in Africa's young population are perhaps some of the solutions to warrant continued economic growth in the continent.
So we must engage with how Africa invests in and promotes inclusive growth. We must look at how regional integration promotes inclusive growth and how the private sector can contribute to inclusive growth. The roles and responsibility of regional economic institutions, the private sector entities, governments and regulators alongside research institutions also needs to be addressed.
In the last decade, foreign direct investment to the continent has increased fivefold, with the largest share of that investment flowing into the mining and extractive sectors. As African countries, our focus should now be on developing a skills base that is reflective of the opportunity that rapidly growing sectors hold. As we develop our future workforce, we must start thinking more broadly about our educational investments that will cement our growth in years to come.